self-doubt is real.
Welcome to the show, Asya. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you, Sofia, for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Can you just start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about what you do?
I would say that I'm a multidisciplinary creative thinker with a practice spanning a wide range of projects in branding, art direction, interactive design, 3D illustration, I guess even environmental design, event design, kinetic typography, and more. I would say I did a little bit of everything, really. I really love creating like a stylized 3D characters, like a fashionistas, especially girls, braver version of myself, I guess, kind of blending elements of fantasy and realism.
I know that your work was just recently shown at Times Square, so congratulations. How did that make you feel?
It wasn't expected. They just reach out, and I was thinking, like, why not? Because it's such a huge stage. Everyone could see your work, and it was really exciting.
Now, I've been a huge fan of your work for years, and I just love your color palettes and the playful worlds that you create. And I know that you've created work for fashion brands such as Lazy Oaf and Loewe. So how does fashion play a role in your life?
I guess fashion is a significant source of my inspiration. It's all about expressing identity and pushing boundaries for me. Like much like art, I love how fashion can convey like narrative, tell a story, or evoke emotions, simply through like choice of fabric or color or like silhouette. And I guess styling in particular helps me understand the importance of details and how small element can completely transform the perception of the piece. My mom, she knows how to do clothing. She's really good. She can do um, one piece in one day. She's like really cool. And I was always impressed by her. Maybe that was actually one of the reasons why I love fashion as well, because my mom is really trendy. She's like really cool mom. I never thought about this before, but now talking to you, I guess it's all connected, my childhood and my current preferences as well. It's really interesting. Thank you so much for asking me all these questions.
This is like a therapy session.
Exactly. I feel like I'm evolving here.
I'm always interested in learning about the decisions that shape people's lives. So what do you think have been the key decisions that have brought you to where you are today?
Well, honestly, it's hard to pinpoint just like one decision because my journey is still very much in progress. And I believe that every choice I've made had shape, who I am. One of the most important decisions is kind of like embrace myself like fully, trying to love myself, I guess. I'm still working on that. But we have a lot of like I don't know, by we I mean the world, filled with noises and like this FOMO. And I think it's very crucial for me to stay true to myself, I guess. And I honestly choose to be brave, try new things, like explore new mediums. I think when I'm trying new mediums and it's giving me more ideas and it's making me to do these different projects. And that's how I think I also become like a multidisciplinary in a way. Its essence, it's like a mix of staying true to myself, embracing like a lifelong learning, I guess, value collaboration and like being brave in the face of like uncertainty, what's brought me to where I am today.
So you mentioned staying true to yourself.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision that you made? And how did you end up making that decision?
If we talk about self-doubt, for example, I believe that is a huge part of like all creative process, you know? One way I tackle it is by looking back at my past achievements and remembering like a positive feedback I've received. For example, sometimes I even write in like during New Year, I would write like a list, okay, that what I achieved during this year. I normally don't even remember. And then when I'm making this list, it's really fulfilling, you know? It's kind of bringing only positive vibes. And then being like, oh, well, I was doing a lot of things during this year. It's a good thing. And I think it helps to remind myself that like every artist, no matter how um, successful or anything, has moments of insecurity. You know, these challenges actually where we grow and improve. A lot of designers, like regardless of whether they are from like they are they struggle with confidence. Lack of confidence can really hold person back, especially creative person. And because of this, we might not reach our like full potential. That's one of the main issues I've seen in conversations, you know, with other designers. And yeah, self doubt is real. Like it's also something we can overcome, I believe, by focusing on our strengths. Um, we shouldn't be afraid of seeking support that we need in case we need. And I honestly, maybe I'm repeating myself, but it's constantly putting ourselves out there. You know, it's all about pushing through the fear and trust in the process and trust in your gut, I guess.
I totally agree with you. And it's so true that being authentic and staying true to yourself can be really hard, even scary sometimes. How do you control your mind?
To be honest, I can't say I'm always in control, but I'm doing my best. I try to practice like mindfulness and, you know, positive affirmations, which is very popular on TikTok as well. And it's really about working on your mindset, you know, and like pushing uh, past self doubt. Every moment you have to choose to be brave. I remember one time I created on a on iPhone, you create like reminders, and I created some reminder. I don't remember exact words, but it was try new things. It's very simple, but when it's around you, when you're thinking about this, even unconsciously, I think it works.
I love that. That's such a brilliant idea to set reminders on your phone. I really want to start doing that as well.
You should try. You should try.
So, you talked about staying true to your unique voice, but how did you first discover your artistic voice and what practical steps did you take to develop it?
I guess finding my artistic voice was all about like trial and error and just having fun with it. Like to be very honest, like at first, I focused on figuring out what I liked and what didn't vibe with me. To me, that means a lot of experimenting and like practicing constantly, you know. I think starting my own projects, like a self-initiated project, was like a kind of like a game changer as well. I gave myself like a freedom to try out different directions and like techniques without like overthinking them, you know? And it's easy to be super critical of your own work, at least in my case. But I learned to treat my personal projects like a, you know, like a real assignments, trying to stick to deadlines. And I guess breaking down large tasks into small ones, like manageable goals, kept me like motivated, you know, motivated and made me feel less overwhelmed, I guess. And my artistic voice started to take shape through constant experimenting, like, and just trying new things and working on these solo projects and collaborating with other creatives as well helped me like fine tune my style as well. Honestly, some of my best ideas come to me in a shower. When I'm in that relaxed and focused mode, my brain just seems to be, on a standby, and ideas flow naturally. It's reminded, it's this reminder that sometimes the best ideas come when you are not even trying.
That is such a good tip that if you ever have a creative block, you just take a shower to relax. I love that.
Yes, exactly.
So, how do you carve out time and find the self-discipline for your own work?
I guess like self-discipline and to make sure I have time for personal project. It obviously you have to be committed to do this, right? And recently I actually even started to block out time in my calendar and like doing my best to stick to it. It's like having a meeting with myself, which I cannot cancel. Sometimes it's not even creativity. It can be very boring part, but it's still like part of your project. It's not always about experimenting, right? Projects is about management as well, time management. And I guess self-discipline for me, it's coming from understanding how much this project will contribute to my overall growth, and like maybe even happiness, but maybe it's too much. But I definitely recognize that spending time on personal work is kind of an investment in my own future, as a designer.
How do you manage perfectionism in your personal projects? Because at least for me, perfectionism often leads to procrastination because I know that if the project doesn't turn out well, I only have myself to blame.
I think when I'm working on self-initiated projects, I'm because I told you I'm trying to treat it as a real project. I kind of starting with creating like a brief. When I'm defining what are my target audience, like with who and why and how, when I'm answering all these questions, it's giving me these boundaries naturally. But at the same time, I believe that every creative person has to procrastinate even. That's my belief. We cannot be always at our 100. I also think so. I even read some article about like procrastination, and they say that it's pretty normal for creatives. It's because we are curious minds. It's because we are um, really sensitive to the environment. We are really like absorbing all the information and everything. So it's a lot about I guess emotions as well. So we can be influenced by a lot of things. And I mentioned to you that I'm really person who is empathetic. So I can start procrastinating if I'm upset, I guess. But at the same time, uh, I a lot of people saying that design is about inspiration. In my case, I honestly not sure that is true. I have a tendency to have several projects at the same time. And when I'm getting tired of, let's say, mm, this project, I'm developing brand identity, and maybe I did too many experiments, I got a little bit of tired of this. So I can switch. Like, why not? I have another project which I'm working on, like in parallel. Let's say 3D illustration, and it's different type of skill set. So it's kind of helping me to switch. And I guess that's maybe mm, which can help with fighting this procrastination.
Yeah, that is actually really helpful. I'm sure that it also helps to give you a fresh point of view to the task that you're working on. I think it was Stefan Sagmeister who once said that whenever he faces a creative block, he starts to think about the project at hand from a completely different perspective. So, for example, if he was working on an editorial project and he had a glass on his desk, he would start thinking about that project from that glass point of view. So he might consider how to utilize the concept of transparency in the book, or whether the covers could be made of glass. And this technique has definitely helped me in my work. So I can see really well how switching between graphic design and illustration could be very inspiring for you.
What you said resonates with me. Like, for example, I don't like designing right away on the computer. I think that if quickly thinking, even on a paper, like doing some in advance thinking, let's say that this, and this planning, maybe some sketching, like rough sketching, low fidelity sketching, let's call it like this. It's really helpful, and trying all of these things rather than just going to the program right away, because each software will still have their constraints, you know?
You have worked as an art director at Cox and Marvel for companies like Google, Meta, and Microsoft, but you've also worked as a freelance artist for clients such as New York Times and Forbes. How is working in an agency different from being a freelancer?
Well, working in an agency, I guess, provide a structured environment, you know, with collaborative opportunities. And I don't know, agencies often have like well-defined processes and teams in place, which means you can focus more on the creative aspects, you know, like of a project, and while relying on specialized departments for support in areas like client management or like project management or like technical execution. And the structure allows for more like a streamlined workflow, you know, and the ability to bounce ideas of colleagues, maybe even. On the other hand, like freelancing offers more creative freedom, I guess, and flexibility. You have your voice to choose your own projects, and you set your own schedule, which can be like honestly incredibly rewarding, because you can be on the beach. I don't like beaches, honestly, but because I'm I'm very SPF all the time. But what I'm trying to say, you can work from the park even, right? And however, it also means you have to manage everything yourself most of the time. For example, for large projects, this can be handling client communication or scheduling meetings or even drafting contracts, you know, and managing budgets yourself and taxes, which is really important because we want to pay our taxes, right? So it's all about like balancing commercial demand with a creative freedom, I guess, and is a constant challenge in both settings. So, like in an agency, you often have to align with the agency's overall vision and like a client's brand guidelines as well, which can sometimes limit creative expression. And as a freelancer, while you have more control over the creative direction, you also need to ensure that the client's needs and expectations are met. And I think this involves like a clear communication, setting boundaries, and sometimes educating clients, you know, even about the creative process, and kind of to find like a middle ground. I believe that each mode of working, it has their unique benefits and challenges as well, and making you, at least making me grow, you know, as a creative professional by experiencing both.
Now, speaking of commercial demands, let's explore your background a bit more. Before going into design, I know you studied management. So, what process did you go through to realize that design was actually a thing?
That's a really good question because, to be honest, I've been into art since I was a kid. I was always painting, drawing, and like doing lots of stuff, creative stuff. And in school, I was lucky to attend like a public school with a fantastic art department that had everything from painting to sculpture. And it was such a, awesome environment to explore my creativity. But initially, never thought about this, that it could be my career, at first. And I honestly wasn't sure what I wanted to do or what my career could be. And Mm. I started studying general management because it felt like a something solid, something like a versatile choice. To be honest, these studies went pretty smoothly, and I found myself managing the coursework pretty well. And that's when I kind of decided that um, I don't want to miss out on design. I decided to add design to the mix, and that's why I pursued the BA graphic design. I'm really thankful that I had this opportunity, to be honest. And I'm really happy about this combo because my studies in management and design actually kind of overlap in a really complementary way, I guess. And I think um, having both degrees gave me like a unique perspective. The business side helped me understand client needs and manage projects efficiently, I think. While my passion for design and creativity and art, I guess it's naturally led me to that design path. And the combination of these skills made me realize that I don't know, that design, that's what I really wanted. Choosing graphic design felt like a perfect path, I guess. Kind of blending everything I love. It allowed me to use my mm, I don't know, artistic skills in practical, impactful way. I like to say that my path is like a synergy. When one plus one gives you three, it kind of showed me that that was my thing.
I can relate to so many things that you said because, as you know, I also have a similar background and I originally studied a master's degree in marketing. And then through my work, I stumbled upon graphic design and I had this aha moment that I actually want to be a designer. But for me personally, it felt like a massive leap of faith. And it took me a while to find my artistic voice and learn to trust myself as a creative. I was somewhat programmed to believe that art is a good hobby, but not a realistic career choice. And in a society, we have these phrases such as a starving artist, which are not really that encouraging. So I suppose what I'm trying to ask you is, did you have any of those fears? And if so, how did you navigate them?
Well, I definitely can relate to what you're saying because, as I told you, I wasn't sure who I am and what should I do because we need to do these important decisions in quite an early stage of our lives. And uh, the career path, it sounds so abstract and it sounds so ambiguous, and it's actually kind of fearful as well, at least for me, because I tried it and it works for me. Management, I guess, it just naturally happened that okay, I don't want the creativity being taken away from me. I don't want to miss out on that. Why? I felt like just going to small, let's say, workshop and going there once half of the year wouldn't be enough for me, wouldn't be fulfilling for me. I want more. Maybe I was a little bit greedy, I guess, at that time as well. To be very honest, I was really. into graphic design. Because I really love typography. I really love all these elements. I won't spend hours on typesetting, honestly. I'm not that type of person, but it's definitely all these details are very important. Illustration, I felt I'm not an illustrator. That's how I felt because people who surrounded me, um, who I felt they're real illustrators, they was drawing nonstop every second. Like that's how they was communicating with the world, I guess. And I didn't felt this arch, I guess. I felt that for me is more interesting create concepts and build these visual explorations and trying different things as well. That's how I selected graphic design. And it was the most popular course. And at that time, I didn't know how to use any software. And it was really struggle for me because, there is a vision in your head which you want to have, but you cannot do it because you don't have enough skills. And I guess that was a tough experience for me. And coming back to what we discussed about perfectionism, I think that's honestly about this. When if you want to have specific level of execution, you just has to constantly work on your skills, learn, try, upgrade, and more and more and more.
That's so interesting that at first you thought that you wouldn't be an illustrator and now you're a brilliant artist. So, why did you think that way? And how did you later then make that decision that you actually wanted to be an illustrator?
People around me who call themselves as illustrator first and just doing illustration nonstop every day, every second. And I didn't have this power. For example, my sketches, they're very stylized. I'm really bad with perspective. And I guess not having these skills to draw, let's say, realistic, also made me self doubt, like, oh, probably I cannot draw this. And that's why I'm not an illustrator. So it was not so tough for me or complicated to dismiss myself. And again, nowadays, I'm working on this. I'm trying to support myself. And I think because I actually at some point really wanted not to overthink and really wanted to express myself and test out, that's how I started to do illustration. Yeah, I didn't overthink too much. I started to post it on Instagram a lot. So, for example, people who would check my Instagram, they would think I'm doing only illustration because I'm mostly posting illustration there. If they will scroll, they could obviously find some art direction projects, but I mostly post this type of information, type of projects on my website or Behance, for example, I have as well. I think because I can use my own style. So if I would receive requests to do something in specific style, I would decline it. I also would never animate someone else's illustration. I'm only happy to animate my own style.
So, how would you advise someone contemplating a career shift who is maybe afraid to take the leap at the moment?
I always support everyone who wants to change something or to try new things. But I guess the suggestion would be try making these things while you still, let's say, if you're working, I wouldn't quit the job right away. When we're trying to think about, even thinking about switching careers, I honestly think that I would be feeling scared, I guess. And my advice would be to start like a small and build up your confidence with like while still holding on your current job if you're working, right? Participating in different workshops, connecting with people who, like, already working in the field you are looking for. Maybe finding a mentor who can guide you through, through this transition even. And gradually expanding your portfolio. The skills and the projects, I guess, will give you this feeling of reassurance. And in that moment, I guess, you can already quit your job.
That is so helpful. Now, let's talk about success. What does success mean to you? And what do you think makes life meaningful?
Success to me means having the freedom to create work I'm passionate about, I guess, and what resonates with me and with others as well.
I love that perspective. And I think it's so important to define success for ourselves, because if we don't do it ourselves, someone else will surely define it for us. And we can get so caught up, in the scripts that our parents and friends want for us. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time, although I feel like there's so many other things that I could ask. Before we wrap up, what key takeaway would you like our listeners to take from this conversation?
I hope listeners understand the importance of staying true to their unique vision, and not being afraid to take risks. Exploring, trying new things, not dwelling on past, not being worried about errors and mistakes.
I really love that. And where can people find more about your work?
I have my portfolio website, which is asyademidova.com. Everyone welcome to follow me on Instagram to see my illustration projects, and obviously follow me on Behance as well to see my latest project updates, which more focused on brain.
Thank you. I will definitely add all these links in the show notes. Thank you, Asya, so much for your time today.